It is time for a little news update on Aion 2. Let's first see what information we have about Aion 2. And Csoft is working hard with an increased manpower on the new Aion 2 game, even calling it their new flagship title. It got changed from a mobile first to a PC first game, with some optional way to play it mobile. With this change, they also switched from Unreal Engine 4 to Unreal Engine 5. Many years ago, it was stated that Aion 2 will focus more on PvE than the first Aion game. If this is still the case, nobody really knows. In the end, the release date is still set for 2024 or 2025. Obviously, 2024 seems pretty unlikely, but I wonder if they can adjust the game and release it in 2025, or if we will have a delay here. Now let's get to some new interesting stuff about the lore and the world in which Aion 2 will play. The screenshots you see in the background have been translated from Korean and might not be perfect, but here it says, "Among the many devas, the greatest hero will appear and lead the war against the dragons to victory." This doesn't necessarily tell us if it is about the 13th Imperial Lord and we play as him again in the new game, or if it is simply a way to call the players to action. But we have more. In order to end the 1,000-year-long war against the dragon race, to become the leader of Temper and the hero of all devas, the era of heroes begins, in which devas from all over the world unite their forces and compete for prowess. Now, the opportunity has opened for you to become the master of your era. This part seems to imply way more that this is a call to the players, and that it has nothing to do with the 13th Imperial Lord, at least not for now. I honestly wonder how they were going forward with Aion 2, because it plays in the past and we already know what happens after the Cataclysm. So since we already know what happens in the future, is it not kind of difficult to create hype or mystery around Aion 2's story? I mean, the time you have with Aion 2 is finite. It is said it plays 900 years before the first Aion game, and before the Cataclysm. With the first Aion game depending on the patch being at like 500 to 1000 years after the Cataclysm, it really limits the time you have, and how careful they have to be to move forward. I mean, some big events would be when the Balaur attack Teobomos and Sataloka invades Eltnan. Then we already have the peace talks and the Cataclysm. And I really don't think they want to go beyond the Cataclysm. Because then we have again our split world and the two races Ilios and Asmodeans, which they also said will not be in the game. Considering all of this, we only have like 400 years before the Cataclysm? I mean, for the release in the beginning it's fine, but if you want Aion 2 to be around for a longer time, then this could mean a lot of trouble with the timeline. Okay, let's just look at the next one. A brilliant era of myth, filled with both light and darkness. A perfect world, Atreya. A vast field with colorful visuals and a dynamic environment unfolds. This highlights again what I said before. It is before the Cataclysm, so Ilios and Asmodeans didn't exist, they are simply one, Devas. Now, before we finish this video, let me show you some of the regions in Aion 2. First of all, we have Poeda, with its classic giant mushrooms. In the background we see the flying creature that also flies around Poeda in the first Aion game. And to the left here we see that someone or something lives inside this giant mushroom, like Pernos did in the first Aion game. Next we have Verteron, which seemed like a wonderful place for nature, before Kato and Garnus decided to poison everything there. But there's a little side note here, do not forget that Verteron had a shrine of Meslam Teda, and the Sumian temple, which was the biggest temple that worshipped Aion. Wouldn't it be funny if we see Meslam Teda, the most mysterious dragon lord in Aion, for the first time in Aion 2, and not in the first Aion game? Now, if you thought Verteron was beautiful, get ready for Eltnan. This is a wonderful picture, absolutely stunning. Eltnan in the first Aion game was covered in sand and dust after Sataloka invaded it. But before that, Eltnan used to have huge forests, and it was the home of countless elim. I think this is the place I'm most excited for. And lastly, we have a place that's called Elysium. I think this is the ancient city Sela, named after the Imperial Lady Seal because she founded it. It was the center of Atreia, and they even had the saying of all roads lead to Sela. It was here that the First Legion was trained, that the battles of the Millennium War were planned, and here that the 12 Imperial Lords met in council to debate the fateful peace conference. I'm really curious and hyped for the new Aion 2 game, but that's all the information we have for now. So if any news about Aion 2 arise, I will keep you up to date. Until then, have a wonderful day and see you on Friday for another lore video. Oh, and I will leave you with another little detail. Back when NC made the first Aion game, they planned to only make the Ilios race playable at first. But as they saw that other games like World of Warcraft, for example, used the multiple factions and that was very popular with people back then, they decided to also use that. So while they carefully thought through the Ilios story, they more or less rushed to make a quick story for the Asmodean players, because they didn't have that much time. However, I think the Asmodean story isn't bad considering that they didn't have that much time for it. But that could also be just me. It has been a long time since I last played an Asmodean character. Anyway, see you next time.